What's going on, everybody? This is Fourth and Philly Pod, and I know it's been a long time since I talked to you guys. I talked to you last time at the Super Bowl. You know, life goes on, and I got jammed up with some, with work and everything like that, and stuff coming home at the work, and you know how life is. I got a regular 9 to 5. Well, 7 to 3. You want to take it that way. So it's really difficult for me to do videos like I want to. But I'm gonna do my best to put more content out and things like that. So yeah, so let's talk. Just real quick, I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Thank you to Brandon Graham for the 15 years he have given us. I thank you for that. I'm not going. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted. I forgot the guy's name. Played for Seattle at the time. We wanted the safety so bad. We got Brandon Graham, and I was like, I was a little disappointed, but I said, all right, this doesn't matter. Just go ahead and get him. So I'm happy we did. He was a great player for us for several years, and I am happy for him to retire in a Eagles uniform. That's very, 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 very rare for a player to retire on the team that drafted him. But I want to say thank you. But this video is about Brandon Graham. I just want to tell you a quick 2 stories about Brandon Graham, which made me really think. I was like, man, yeah. He grew on me as the years went along. After the 5th, 6th year and stuff like that, he really, 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 really grew on me. But I have a quick story. It's funny. So me and my wife had passes. Somebody gave us passes for the camp, and it was her birthday. And normally around her birthday, she usually has to go back to work and stuff like that, because that's how her schedule works, teacher wise. So we was there that one year, and we got a lot of autographs that year. So I bought her a ball and bought her a mini helmet at the time. I should have bought a big helmet, but I messed that up. But we bought a ball and a helmet, and we got, Kelsey, Lane, Mulata. I think we got, Dallas Goddard, Gainwell, Maddox, Fletcher Cox, and a lot of the big hitters does. You know what I mean? Most of the offensive line, Salamalo and all that stuff like that. So most of the people in that ball, it was a Super Bowl ball. Most of the guys that was that signed the ball was actually on the Super Bowl team. So that was pretty cool. For the most part, because I think it was 2 years after that we won the Super Bowl, so they still had those Super Bowl balls out. They made 1 million of them. So anyway, so my wife we were walking out. She was like, "Where's Brandon? Where's Brandon?" And we didn't get a chance to see him. I was like, "I don't know where he's at right now." But be honest with you, so going back a little bit, so it was cool that when we got Kelsey's autograph, we were walking. We was in one section, and I don't know if you've been there. It's like one section over here, you only can stay in that spot, and then in the middle is VIP, and then the other section is with other people, and then they have a kids section. So as we got our section, we was walking past. I said, "Kelsey, can you sign my wife's ball? It's her birthday." And then security's like, "No, you gotta keep going." So Kelsey, which was cool at the time, he said, No, hold on, I'll sign her ball, because she had a sash on. It was her birthday. She had a sash on, happy birthday, and a little crown. Females do on their birthday and stuff like that. So he signed it. Jalen Hurts was going to sign it, but they kept pushing us along. But later on, like I think a couple of years later, my wife met Jalen Hurts and got a picture with him and the autograph and stuff like that at the women's football. They have a women's football thing down at the NovaCare Center. So she ended up meeting Jalen Hurts. So as we was walking by, we kept walking, and we saw Brandon Graham, and I said, "Yo, can I get an autograph? My wife wanted an autograph." The security guy was like, "No, you can't get it. It's only for the kids. You gotta keep it moving." So I was like, "Dang!" And she was walking behind me, and I said, "Nah, they won't let you do it because the kids are doing it." I said, "Yeah, it'd be nice if Brandon, it'd be nice if you could sign a ball. I know you're doing it for the kids, and it's my wife's birthday. I would appreciate it if you can sign her ball." I'm doing like this as I'm walking real slow. and he heard me and actually said, "Give me the ball." He said, "Give me the ball. I got pictures of this." He said, "Give me the ball." And my wife walked over, and he got the ball and a helmet signed by Graham. It was a mini helmet, Brandon Graham, and it was cool because I heard him talking. I should have videotaped the interaction between both. And she was like, "Yo, you're my favorite player," everything like that. And Fletcher, excuse me. Brandon Graham said, "Yeah, you cool." He's like, "Well, why you got Fletcher?" He was like, "Why you got Fletch jersey on? Why you got Fletch jersey on?" And she's like, "No, my husband bought me this because we couldn't find your jersey at the time, so he just bought me this one." He's like, "Oh, that's all right. That's cool." He's like, and he signed the ball and he reached over the kids, he signed the ball, and he signed the helmet, and he said, "Happy birthday," and anything like that. I said, "Brandon, thank you so much, brother." And he said, "No problem, man, no problem." So this story I'm telling you right now is just a funny thing. The same story I'm telling you right now, I was in the neighborhood bar when I used to grow up at. I went to go see my mom, hung out with my mom all day. And then I said, I'm going to go by the bar, get me a beer before I go home. And I went by there, and it was a guy that was sitting there talking. I think he said he worked for the Eagles, whatever. And I talked to this other guy. And we're talking, we was talking about some things, and I was like, yo, it happened to be that year. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I went to the back, and blah, 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 blah. And I re-said the story that I just told you guys. And the guy looked at me and said, "Yeah, I remember that day." And I looked at him. I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, I was a security guard that told you got to keep it moving." And I looked at him. I was like, "No." And I looked at the pictures and opened it up, looked at him, looked at the picture, looked at him, looked at the picture. And it was the same guy. It was cool as hell. Like, we had a good conversation. We exchanged numbers and stuff like that. He's a really cool dude. Yeah, man, that was crazy. So that was dope that Brandon Graham had to do that. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. So that was a cool thing. And I liked it before that, but just his character alone, that was cool. And then I think a couple of years ago, I went back to camp. My wife couldn't make it this one because it was later in the month of August, and she had to work. So I was trying to call around to see if anybody wanted to go, and I couldn't find anybody. It was the tickets. I got the tickets at the last minute. So I ended up going by myself. So I said, let me go ahead and go buy a helmet. So I bought a helmet, and I said, yeah, I feel like, I'm by myself, and it's like, it just doesn't feel right. I'm walking around with a helmet, this old guy walking around with a helmet trying to get signatures and thinking I'm going to resell the helmet or something like that. But I said, well, look, I saw the guy, actually his name is Brandon too. And I saw him, I was like, yeah, I'm here. And I was like, my wife couldn't make it. I was trying to get other people to come down here since I couldn't make it. I was like, if I could just get this helmet signed with just Brandon Graham, I'm cool. So once again, Brandon Graham was signing autographs only for the kids. So Brandon came over. He said, yeah, man, we talking. He's like, yeah, come on, man. He's like, well, I got on the field. The kids was over there. I said, Brandon, I'm sorry to jump over these kids. I said, this is for my wife's birthday. I'm looking at everybody else. This is for my wife's birthday. This is not for me. This is a birthday gift. So Brandon, he took it and he signed the helmet. And that was a cool thing right there. I didn't get no pictures with that or anything like that. But I do have a signed helmet by Brandon Graham and the football. So thank you, Brandon Graham, for the 15 years. That was my quick little video of talking about Brandon Graham. I got another video coming up next, talking about, is Jalen Hurts elite or not? So that's my next one coming up after that. And then I'm going to start getting to the draft and talk about what they did in the offseason, which is really not a lot. I didn't really have to express what they did in the offseason. It was a couple of big moves that I think they made, but other than that, pretty much not that many big moves. So, yeah, so that was my Brandon Graham story. I really appreciate y'all, rocking with me. I apologize for that, for rocking with me. And I see y'all in the next video. This is 4th and Philly Pod.